Hey friends, welcome to FTW Philly presented by Temple University. I'm your host, Marissa Magnotta, joined by the electrifying Rosemary Necra Kelly. Necra, how are you this week?
Marissa, I'm doing so well, especially after that incredible introduction. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this week's episode because we have a ton that we're going to be covering today. Can you give us a little bit about what's coming up next?
Yes, of course. We have our weekly esports news and gaming news. Plus, with the launch of the new consoles coming up, we're going to help you decide which one is perfect for you.
On top of all that, we see some incredible gamers find their superpowers in a segment you don't want to miss. But with all that being said, that's a lot to go over, so let's just jump right into it. This week in esports news, it's all about League of Legends. The 2020 World Championships reached its apex on October 31st. But before we get into who won this year's Summoners Cup, we have to go back in time just a little bit. There's no secret that 2020 has had its fair share of challenges. But the biggest challenge we've had to face as a global population has been the COVID pandemic. Historically, the League of Legends World Championships has been one of the biggest spectacles in gaming, boasting impressive opening ceremonies, a sold-out crowd, and intense competition. But because of COVID, esports as a whole has had to make some significant adaptations, including not holding live events at all, and pivoting to an online format to keep everyone safe. Riot was still determined to put on a great show this year, so they came up with a solution to fly everyone out anyway. Flashback to about 2 months ago, where 22 teams flew into Shanghai, China to participate in the World Championships. But before any competition started, every participant had to go through a 2-week isolation period to make sure they were clear of coronavirus. Equipped with a gaming computer and an exercise bike, you'd think for a gamer this would be a walk in the park. Especially for teams whose eyes were on the prize of practicing to win the World Championships. But conditions really weren't all that optimal. Not only were a lot of teams battling jet lag, but there were reports of bad or cold food during the quarantine period, and on top of that, players had a hard time battling the mental fatigue of being in isolation. A lot of esports teams live in houses so they can get to know one another better and practice together. So this isolation period was new and difficult territory. But once the arduous 2 weeks of time were up, it was game time. 22 teams competed over the month of October, whittling down the competition until it was just 2 teams left: Damwon Gaming from South Korea and Suning from China. Even though the stands couldn't be packed because of social distancing, there was a lottery held for a limited 6,000 seats, and over 3 million people bid for those seats. In a battle for the ages, it was Damwon Gaming that came out on top with a 3-1 scoreline, taking the Summoners Cup and claiming the title of 2020 World Champion. Along with the usual spectacle for a major Riot event, there was a new addition this year with the Red Bull Gaming Companion Stream for beginners. League of Legends is particularly complicated, especially when played at the highest of levels, so Red Bull Gaming aimed to make the World Championships super accessible for people unfamiliar with League or just in the beginner ranks, using accessible terminology and breaking down all of the plays. If you were ever interested in League of Legends, this show is a great way to get started in your first steps of this esport. That's it for this week's esports headlines. Stay tuned for all the gaming news with Darth Mike's Field of View, as well as an introduction for which next generation console might be best for you.
Welcome to Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. I'm Darth Mike, coming to you from the sidelines of a ripper of a match on Champions Field, and we've got a bunch of news to get into, so let's boost into the kickoff and get out of here. Well, they said it wasn't going to happen. They said the game was gold. They said it was ready to go on the proposed release date. They said for sure this time they were going to ship the game, and folks, they lied. That's right, I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077, one of the most hotly anticipated games of the year, if not the decade, if not the century. And it's been delayed yet again. CD Projekt Red has pushed the ship date 21 days back to December 10th, when it will finally be released into many waiting gamers' arms. Now, apparently the issue this time around has been compatibility between all of the versions of the games, as it's releasing in 9 different versions on 2 generations of consoles and PC. And it's already good to go on PC, but it's everything else that's gonna take some work, and so I have to say, console folks, you're letting us all down. You're dragging us all down with you. But maybe we'll finally get a polished game. Now, they did say it was gold, which means it had already been burned onto discs. This is all about the Day Zero patch to iron out bugs and kinks and get everything working exactly the way they want it to do. Still, CD Projekt Red, you better deliver on December 10th, because at this point, you're giving us all trust issues. Riot have unveiled a cinematic trailer for their latest game. Set in the League of Legends universe of Runeterra, the game is called The Ruined King, and it puts players in control of a party of League of Legends heroes as they fight in a turn-based RPG to travel to the Shadow Isles and confront said Ruined King. The game is going to be coming out in early 2021, and it should be an exciting new entry in Riot's expanding portfolio of games as they look to expand both the lore of League of Legends and also expand their player base. For my money, this is the game that's targeted at people who've looked at League of Legends, looked at all the cool cinematic trailers Riot has released over the years and thought, this game looks awesome, these characters look amazing, I better check it out. And then they've gone in and looked at the toxic player base of League of Legends and thought, never mind. It still exists. It's still out there, folks. It's alive. I'm talking, of course, not about a zombie, but about From Software's next game, Elden Ring. It's supposed to be a dark fantasy medieval RPG scenario type of situation where they partnered with George R.R. Martin, of all people, the author of the Game of Thrones series, to come up with the world, the universe, the plot, and the characters. And fans have been understandably concerned because the developer didn't mention anything about the game for a year now. Still, From Software, famous for games such as Dark Souls and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, in a tweet reply have finally acknowledged the game and mentioned that fans are excited and anticipating its launch. Now, part of this might be due to the fact that all conventions this year have been canceled, and From Software opted not to spend any time at digital showcases where they might otherwise have teased drips and drabs of information about this game. But it's still kind of absurd that a big studio like this just wouldn't mention a hotly anticipated property for a year. And as a fan of George R.R. Martin projects and a fan of his books for many years, who's familiar with the many delays they encounter, I think someone might have asked him to write the press release. Monolith Productions have announced that they're shutting down the game servers for their 2014 smash hit Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Now, in truth, this doesn't actually change a whole lot for the game, as it's mostly a single-player campaign and storyline, but these are a few of the trimmings that you could do afterwards. Things like fighting orcs from your friend's online campaign, or using the Nemesis Forge to bring you into the sequel of Shadow of War. But it's still an important moment to look back and acknowledge what Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor was in its place in history, what it was to the gamer culture. And this was a fun game that developed the Nemesis system, that had expansive open world where you could track down orcs and they could track you down as well. And it was a heck of a good time. So in this moment, where their servers cross on over to the river Styx, we salute you, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. See you next time. Well, that's it for us this week on Field of View with Nerd Street Gamers, your weekly dose of gaming news. I'm gonna pack up my things and get out of here and... Oh, no. Ooh, that's going to be expensive to replace.
Man, Marissa, I'm really bummed to hear that Cyberpunk is being delayed, but at the same time, I'm really excited that the game is going to be released in its best possible form.
Ah, what a positive spin on that. I love it. I love it when you get super passionate about games. Here's a question. Have you ever tracked exactly how much you've spent on consoles and gaming?
I never have, but I'm sure if I did, the number would shock you.
Well, with all the new systems coming out, we're going to break it down dollar by dollar to figure out exactly which one is right for you.
With the recent announcements of the next generation of gaming consoles, it's understandable not to know which one is right for you. Let's dive into the information you'll need to make the best decision when purchasing a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S. We'll be breaking down their cost, performance, subscription fees, and more. While both consoles have yet to be released, our report is based on information made available to the public by Sony and Microsoft. Let's take a look at Sony's newly announced PS5. Coming in at $399 for the digital version and $499 for the disc version, both of these systems pack a serious punch. Taking advantage of new revolutionary ray tracing technology, games on PS5 can now accurately simulate light bouncing off of surfaces, making games look more lifelike than ever before. It also boasts the ability to render games at a native 4K resolution, with high frame rates of 120 frames per second and support for refresh rates up to 120 Hz. Frame rates this high provide a much smoother gameplay experience with less image stuttering. Couple this with backwards compatibility for PS4 games, as well as Sony's legendary platform exclusives, and it becomes an absolute powerhouse of a console. Sony has two subscription-based services for players to get the most out of their gaming experience. The first, PlayStation Plus, allows players to access online multiplayer features, giving gamers the ability to play with people from around the world. The second, PlayStation Now, provides players with the ability to play hundreds of PlayStation titles from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 4. PlayStation Now is also available on PC, giving players even more ways to enjoy their favorite games. Microsoft's newly announced consoles are the Xbox Series X and Series S. The more powerful Series X boasts a price tag of $499, while the all-digital Series S comes in at $299. When it comes to price and technical specifications, the Series X is nearly identical to the PlayStation 5, offering ray tracing, 4K resolution, and 120 Hz refresh rates for specific titles. The Series S is the Xbox equivalent of the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, and although comparatively underpowered, it costs $100 less than the digital PS5. Similar to Sony, Xbox has two subscription services as well. Xbox Live Gold, Xbox's online service, is still one of the most popular ways to enjoy online multiplayer content. In addition to Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass offers players unlimited access to over 100 high-quality games for a monthly fee. The Game Pass library includes a variety of new and old games across console, PC, and Android mobile devices. A notable benefit to the Xbox platform is support for the Xbox Adaptive Controller. The Adaptive Controller is a fully customizable platform designed to meet the needs of players with limited mobility so they can enjoy their favorite games. Button remapping, customizable attachments for assistive devices, and cross-platform accessibility with PCs makes it possible for anyone to enjoy gaming to the fullest. Both Sony and Microsoft offer relatively similar pricing options for their next-gen consoles. Let's break it down. The PlayStation 5 disc version and Xbox Series X are both available for $499. Additionally, the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition and Xbox Series S check in at $399 and $299. Now, let's break down the online service costs. Both platforms offer online multiplayer subscription services that you can purchase on a monthly or yearly basis. Sony's online PlayStation Plus comes in at $59.99 for a year-long membership, a 3-month membership for $24.99, and a 1-month subscription for $9.99. Microsoft's online Xbox Live Gold service similarly offers 3 months for $24.99 and 1 month for $9.99. Next, let's break down the costs for the online game libraries that each platform offers. PlayStation Now comes in at $59.99 for a year, $24.99 for 3 months, and $9.99 for 1 month. Xbox Game Pass comes in at $14.99 per month for its highest tier, known as Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. At its most basic tier, Xbox Game Pass comes in at $9.99 per month. However, it only gives you access to the game library on console or PC, and it does not include access to online services. With the new line of Xboxes, Microsoft also introduced Xbox All Access, which gives Xbox customers the option to finance their new console. For $34.99 per month, players can enjoy a brand new Xbox Series X as well as 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate included. Similarly, for $24.99 per month, players can enjoy the Xbox Series S and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for 24 months. The reveal of the next generation of consoles is absolutely astounding. While we've given you a general breakdown of each console, we recommend diving into the list of games available on each platform. While most games are available on both platforms, there are still many console exclusives that could sway your decision. In the end, choose what works best for you. Whatever decision you make, We're sure you'll love the next generation of gaming.
Necra, last week you told me that you weren't able to get your PlayStation 5 on pre-order. Does this change your mind at all?
I don't think it does. I'm still leaning in the direction of a PS5 just because of all the version exclusives on the game. What do you think?
Well, I have to get one too now because of this growing list of games that we're going to play together.
Absolutely. I really can't wait.
Me too.
Coming up next, we have a segment about Autisarians, featuring a family helping young gamers find their superpowers.
I found crumpled pieces of paper in a vent in his bedroom. Now, the papers were drawings of a superhero that he had created. It was in the form of a autistic ribbon. With the heroes, there were villains. One of the villains even looked like me.
So I was diagnosed with autism when I was like 5, and I started to draw.
He and I didn't get along. I thought that it was a discipline problem. He just went off on his own temper tantrums, and he would speak sometimes, but it would be short bursts of profanities. Nothing I did would get through to him. We were scheduled to go to an appointment for Campbell to get electroshock therapy. This was the final decision of what would fix him, they said. There's gotta be a better way. Opening up the vents, that was a sigh of relief. It gave me a path to find out what was going on in his head. And we called off the appointment for the electroshock therapy. The details in the drawings were just amazing. I have to do something with this because this is something he's interested in. This is something that has got his attention. So I created stories, and the stories were about an advanced civilization called the Autisarians. The Autisarians, in their world, which was a place called Navia, everybody had autism, but autism was a good thing.
Where Autisarian comes from, they was born with autism with their superhuman abilities. My superhuman power, I like to do art sculpture.
An Autisarian is a person diagnosed with autism, but hiding a superhuman ability. The Autisarian organization kind of came about with his brother, who's also diagnosed autistic. Kante was hiding an ability to scan information really quickly. One day I asked him to flip the channels on the TV. So he grabs the remote and he holds the button down, and the channels just fly. And he stops at that one channel.
He's been asking me, like, how do you go so fast at this? Like turning channels and like looking at them at the same time.
I figured coding would be a way to use his talent. I enrolled him in to Drexel University, where he was enrolled for maybe about 3 months, and then they wouldn't accept the IEP. So he had to leave. So I went to college and I got a degree in coding so I could teach him. We figured, why just help Kante? We can help people like him. We can help people find their superhuman abilities. The Autisarians basically was a way to gather people with autism, be able to have a platform to show to the world that, you know, he and his brother aren't disabled. Just because you are labeled autistic doesn't mean that you're disabled.
For the Autisarian, for me, I would say it's hope. This special ability I have inside me, the eye contact coordination and all that stuff.
The purpose of the Autisarian holodeck partnership is finding the hidden gift. When we got into the virtual reality aspect of the holodeck, we found that when you go under the hood, you forget where you are. And most of the kids that I've dealt with that have been diagnosed with autism, they're afraid to speak because the world around them thinks so negatively of them that they just are locked in that shell of emotional distress. And the holodeck allows them to leave that shell, okay, because they forget about the world around them, and enables them to create a world in virtual reality.
Those with autism are not looked at in the proper light, and so we want to give them a place to come where they feel welcome and where they can explore their abilities. We are the home of the Autisarians, and the services that we offer here at the holodeck is state-of-the-art, high-tech virtual reality. There are thousands of titles or adventures that you can do inside of VR. And it's not that easy for you to, in the real world, go and practice being a mechanic and then practice being a doctor and then practice being a scuba diver. In VR, anything that you can do, you can try.
The game looks like it's in real life. If you start putting the goggles on, it feels more like a real life thing. Like writing a drawing, you inside the drawing.
VR has opened a new world for Kante and Campbell. It has given them a space to be themselves. And for me, the struggle that I had before the Autisarians and the holodeck, it's not as difficult. My hope for other parents who find themselves in a situation where they get that diagnosis and they panic, my hope is that they hear about us. And there's no reason to panic. I want to say to them, there's no reason to panic. You can't live with by the perception that society has of autism. Because if you do, you're giving up.
I hope they find their ability, and I hope they're lucky.
If you want to dream, if you while you're autistic, try to learn it and never give up. If you want to become the soldier like us, I'm not autistic, I'm an Autisarian.
That was a fantastic story about a wonderful family.
It really was, and I was so inspired by the use of the holodeck technology to enable these young gamers to find their passions. But what really stood out to me was the mission and vision of the Autisarians. As stated by the Smith family, their goal is to change the face of autism by changing the attitude of those challenged by this so-called disorder.
That is a fantastic motto. Well, if anyone would like to learn more about the Smith family, please visit their website, autisarian.org.
What an incredible episode. We covered so much today.
We really did, and I'm so glad to end on a high note. So for Necra and myself, and the entire crew behind FTW Philly, presented by Temple University, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.